A man kayaking in the Strait of Magellan was recently swallowed by a whale, which was filmed by the kayaker's dad. And we have the video here. We can see the kayaker, and there's the whale swallowing him. He was okay. He comes up a few seconds later. There he is. From the BBC, the Venezuelan kayaker had been paddling through the Strait of Magellan off Chile's Patagonian coast with his father when he felt something, quote, hit me from behind, closing in on me and sinking me. I closed my eyes, and when I opened them again, I realized I was inside the whale's mouth, Adrian told the BBC. I felt a slimy texture brush by my face, he recalled, adding that all he could see was dark blue and white. I wondered what I could do if it had swallowed me since I could no longer fight to stop it, he said. I had to think about what to do next. But within seconds, Adrian started to feel as though he was rising towards the surface. I was a little afraid of whether or not I'd be able to hold my breath because I didn't know how deep I was, and it felt like it took me a long time to come up. I went up for 2 seconds, and finally I got to the surface and realized that it hadn't eaten me. So Samacus was swallowed by a humpback whale, which is good because while humpback whales have large mouths, their throats are too small to actually swallow something as large as a human. Big mouth, little throat. Good to know. It turns out that the whale probably engulfed Samacus in its mouth by accident. It was probably feeding on a school of fish below the kayak and got the kayak as it was lunging upwards. I also remember back in 2021, there was a lobster diver that was off the coast of Massachusetts that was also swallowed by a whale while diving for lobsters. The diver was also released after about 30 seconds, so he was okay. I think he went to the hospital, but I mean, he survived, so that's good. I guess the moral is that if you're swallowed by a whale, you'll probably be fine. I'm getting to realize how many whale related stories we cover in this series. Look, it's not my fault the whales are acting weird. I just cover the news. A woman from New England recently baffled doctors by having symptoms of burning in her legs, arms, and torso, headaches, and confusion. The woman ended up going to 3 hospitals before being diagnosed with parasitic brainworms. Specifically, she was infected with rat lungworm, which is a parasite that is passed from rats via feces to slugs and snails, which are then able to pass it to humans. If a human consumes rat lungworm by eating undercooked or raw snails or otherwise contaminated produce, the parasites will pass into the bloodstream where they will migrate around the body until they're able to burrow into the central nervous system. In humans, these parasites can't mature, but they can still do pretty substantial damage. Ugh. There's it wiggling around. I don't like looking at it. Rat lungworm can sometimes cause a thing called eosinophilic meningitis, which can cause death or permanent brain damage. Look, rat lungworm is not common. There have only been a couple hundred reported cases of rat lungworm in the United States since its first documentation of the disease in 1959, most of which have been in Hawaii. The woman in question had just gone back from a vacation where she spent time in Thailand, Japan, and Hawaii. Rat lungworm can be pretty devastating if you're unlucky. In 2010, a 19-year-old Australian man named Sam Ballard ate a slug on a dare. He ended up with rat lungworm, which ended up putting him in a coma for 420 days and left him paralyzed and with brain damage. And he ended up dying 8 years later in 2018. Most cases of rat lungworm won't be that bad, but the story does make me uncomfortable. I mean, it's never great to be reminded that you can become disabled at any time for any number of reasons. But anyways, don't eat slugs or Hawaiian lettuce. Okay. Last year, a Brazilian politician named José Aprigio da Silva, seen on the left, was running for re-election of the town of Taboão da Serra when, just before election, he was attacked by assailants who shot at Silva as he rode in an armored car. A bullet was able to pierce through the car, hitting Silva in the shoulder. There is a twist in the story, of course. Here's The Guardian. But this week, police investigators said they believed the seemingly botched homicide was a fraud and launched a series of raids targeting suspected conspirators, codenamed Operation Hidden Fact. The supposed ambush on Silva's vehicle had, police told reporters, actually been a farce engineered by supporters of the 72-year-old mayor. They allegedly hoped the attack would cause an outpouring of support and sympathy and boost his campaign in the days before the vote. Police said evidence gathered as a result of one plea bargain deal suggested Silva's allies had paid 500,000 reals, about $88,000, for the duo of bogus shooters to launch their fake strike on the SUV. It's also been speculated that Silva's injuries might have been unintentional. The assailants might have not realized that the armored car's ballistic protection was insufficient to stop bullets from the assault rifles the attackers used. To add insult to injury, literally, Silva's attack failed to drum up support, and he actually ended up losing the election in a landslide defeat. So he probably didn't need to hire someone to shoot him, allegedly. I don't understand this plan. Are voters really going to vote for you because you were shot? I mean, I guess not because he lost the election. A Jewish Florida man named Mordecai Brofman is facing charges for attempted murder after he allegedly got out of his truck and opened fire on a passing vehicle that contained two men Brofman believed were Palestinian, but who turned out to be Israeli tourists. Brofman later told detectives after being arrested that he shot at the two men because he thought they were Palestinian. That's insane. The two men literally hadn't interacted with Brofman at all. Brofman just saw the two men minding their own business, driving their car, and he decided to shoot them. Brofman shot one man in the shoulder and injured the other's forearm. This is where the story gets interesting. From The Guardian, further complicating the incident, one of the injured men reportedly posted "Death to the Arabs" in a message on social media after the shooting. "My father and I went through a murder attempt against anti-Semitic background," he wrote. So apparently the injured man thought that he and his father had been attacked by an Arab who wanted to kill Jewish people. The Guardian continues, "The Council on American Islamic Relations Florida chapter has called for federal hate crime charges in the shooting. It is deeply ironic and telling that both the alleged pro-Israel perpetrator and the pro-Israel victim in the Miami Beach shooting reportedly hold racist anti-Palestinian views," said CARE's National Executive Director Nahad Awad on Twitter. Yeah, the victims don't actually have to be the minority being targeted for it to be a hate crime. The perpetrator just needs to perceive the victims as a minority and commit a crime based off that perception. This story makes my head hurt. This reminds me how after 9/11 there were a series of murders against people mistaken to be Middle Eastern. There was Mark Anthony Stroman, who, in an attempt to kill Arabs after 9/11, killed two people and injured a third, all of whom were from South Asia and not Arabs. There was Larmy Price, who killed four people in revenge for 9/11, but only one of which was Middle Eastern. And there was Frank Rock, who killed Balbir Singh Sodhi, who's seen on the left, who was not an Arab Muslim, but a Sikh from India. You know, Sikhs wear turbans. Yeah, so it does seem like that racists often tend to be ignorant about Arabs. Who would have thought? Two men were arrested in Louisiana after they planned to use an air cannon to deliver tobacco and meth over a security wall to inmates inside of a prison. That doesn't seem like a very inconspicuous way of doing that. One prison guard says to the other, "Hey, did you notice that cannon sound going off and all the drugs raining from the sky?" And then the other is like, "No, I didn't hear or see anything." The two men never actually used the cannon, but were just planning on doing it, and they had all of the meth, so they got arrested. I mean, they did succeed in getting one thing in prison themselves. By the way, the air cannon I have on screen isn't the cannon used in the story. I couldn't find a picture of that one. Instead, the one in the picture was discovered in 2013 after being used to shoot packages of marijuana over the United States-Mexico border. So this isn't even the first drug cannon story. Interesting. Omaha Opossum cake bandit recovering after eating an entire chocolate cake. I guess a family had left a tuxedo cake outside on their deck. They must have not had room in their refrigerator or something because the cake was left out because it was cold outside. Anyways, someone from the household came outside and must have seen the cake gone and just this opossum laying on their couch, just like, "Oh, why did I eat that entire cake?" And they tried to like scare off the opossum, but it literally didn't move at all. I guess it was too full. I have to say that whenever I need to scare an animal to get it to go away or whatever, I am mostly counting on it running away. Like if I tried to scare away an animal and it didn't move at all, I don't know what I would do. It called my bluff, I guess. It's a stalemate. The family called a rescue service and the opossum is now in recovery. It's also recovering from lead poisoning, which I think is unrelated. Otherwise, I might have saved that family. There you go. Eggs! Eggs! Everybody is mad about how expensive eggs are. I didn't realize how much people loved eggs. A few weeks ago, we learned that Waffle House is adding a 50-cent surcharge for every egg that you buy. They cited the bird flu as the reason for the increase in cost. After all, last year, during the months of November and December, 17 million egg-laying hens were killed to stop the spread of the bird flu. And that's led to the situation we're seeing now where people are starting to panic buy eggs. You know, when people are uncertain about the future and think prices will go up, oftentimes that leads to panic buying, which is exacerbated once people start reporting on it. So I guess I'm part of the problem to the 20 people that will watch this video. Anyways, we have this headline. Texas custom officers scramble plans, nice, stop at least 90 from smuggling eggs into the United States. They're smuggling eggs now. I guess you can't import fresh eggs into the United States because of the bird flu. Can you get can you get the bird flu from eating eggs? I guess not if they're cooked properly. Apparently it's enough of a risk somehow that you can't import the eggs anyways. There's also a disease called virulent Newcastle disease that is of concern, that is deadly for avians, and that can affect humans, leading to mild symptoms. But I don't care about any of that. I say let them smuggle the eggs. Bring the prices down. The 90 people that are smuggling eggs. Would you rather them smuggle marijuana with air cannons? So there's a man named David Rush who holds the most consecutive Guinness World Records. Here he is doing various activities. Anyways, he has managed to break another world record, managing to take 198 bites out of 3 apples while juggling them. Rush calls it one of the most difficult records he has broken. Let's watch a small segment from this video. I'm excited. So Rush doesn't swallow the apples because that would take too much time, I guess. So he just like spits out the apple, and you can see apple juices flying everywhere. It's a huge mess. It's kind of mesmerizing to watch, isn't it? Ew. Wow. Okay. I think that's enough. Um, I mean, pretty impressive. Gross, but impressive. That's all I have. Thanks.